Thanks for coming tonight. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker. He's Father Dave Mercer. He's from St. Lucy's Parish in Campbell, and he's been there 2.5 years. And he has a long history in the Bay Area. He went to school down here, and he worked here before becoming a priest. So you can ask him about those experiences later. And now I'd like to introduce him. He's going to talk to us about Easter and Lent.
Scott mentioned, I'm from the area. I grew up in Sunnyvale. I went to Peterson High School, which no longer exists. It's now middle school. And after high school, I went into the Air Force. Spent a few years there. Then got out and went to San Jose State, degree in marketing. Worked for a few years in Silicon Valley. First with Burroughs Computers, which no longer exists. Got swallowed up. That company got swallowed up. And then I became a buyer for Fairchild Semiconductor, which no longer exists. But it started it all, okay? I remember at the time they made a big thing. They had like a family tree kind of set of a poster, and they showed Fairchild and all the spin-offs. I'm sure now that's really gotten even more complicated. So, and then when I was 28, I figured it was time for a career change. And I left Fairchild and went to seminary. So people will tell me sometimes that I'm still using my marketing degree as a free. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I'm delighted to be here. I know that when the idea of theology on Cap came to this area, one of my best friends, Father Kevin Joyce, was the first speaker in Sunnyvale, Stratton Murphy's, and I thought it was a great thing to get going. I heard about it from other parts of the country. It's just a great thing to get going. Well, the topic this evening is Lent and Easter, and Scott asked me if I had a title. I said, well, that's probably it. I guess they looked for something snazzy. Maybe at the end, retroactively, maybe you can suggest a title for what I say. Maybe that's what title it might deserve. I put my palm trail here. It's on it'll send out a little alarm. It's on vibrate. You'll see it light up. And that's my warning that you're ready to wind down. Otherwise, you risk being going all night long. First, it may seem like it has nothing to do with Lent or Easter, but to understand a little bit of Lent and Easter, I think it's important to go through an understanding of Lent and Easter. And that's what I want to do first. Is I give you Father Dave Mercer's background to understand. No one has ever written this before. I thought of it. Hopefully it'll make sense, and hopefully it'll be helpful for you. I'd like to start by asking you a question. There was a survey done not all that long ago, some years ago, and it was, what 3 things do you most like to hear said to you? Said to you sincerely. What 3 things do you most like to hear? 3 sentences. So think about that for just a moment. What do you most like to hear said to you, and said to you sincerely? The survey showed the 3 most popular things people like to hear. Anyone want to guess what one of them is?
Love you.
Yes. Thank you. That's not one of the 3. What? I love you. Yes. Gorgeous. Number 1 thing was I love you. The second most appreciated thing to be told sincerely is you are forgiven. And the third thing is supper is ready. Now, my task this evening is to tie that all together and help you out and allow to give some meaning to Lent and Easter. So we're going to talk about those 3 sentences first, as background to a Father Dave understanding of Lent and Easter. And then from there we're going to talk about Lent, how it unfolds Sunday to Sunday. And then Easter, how it unfolds Sunday to Sunday. And then lastly, we'll look at some of the traditional Lenten practices that we have. And how we Catholics tend to think of Lent and what do we do. But I would begin with that as another question. When you think of Lent, what comes to mind? What are your first thoughts? When you think of Lent, what do you think of? Yes?
Not eating meat.
Not eating meat? Okay. Say again? Reflection? Prayer? Yes? Sacrifice? Yes? Time to slow down. Okay, so time to slow down, look at walking the way of Christ, if that's where you ought to be. Good. Yes? Alms giving, okay. It's all good answers. Well, time to go in each of those directions, okay. First, I want to go back to that survey. The three things that people most like to hear said: I love you, you are forgiven, and supper is ready. And I hope it all makes sense in how I bring together Lent and Easter. The first is, that's background material. But I think it's important to have a certain background, a certain understanding to Lent and Easter that forms like a map for ourselves. If we enter Lent or Easter and don't understand just what this is about, it's like having the wrong map. Remember a few years ago there was that big mining disaster in Pennsylvania where there were some miners stuck way down in this hole down there, and they were eventually rescued. Remember that they had been drilling, and remember that they had been using the wrong maps. The maps they had of the mine shafts and tunnels down there were outdated, so they were drilling through a wall, and they didn't realize the other side of that wall was a lot of water that broke through. The water just gushed and trapped them down there for those days. So using the right maps is important. And so having the right map and understanding of Lent and Easter, I'm convinced is important to moving through the season in the right way. First off, that's the sentence, I love you. I ask questions, so you get your chance to ask me questions later. What is love? What's your understanding of love?
It's for looking for the good of the other person.
Say again?
Looking for the good of, or wanting the good for the other person.
Wanting the good for the other person. Yes?
Adoration.
Adoration? What do you mean by that?
Well,
Okay. Respect. My understanding of love is that love is a decision, and more than it is a feeling. Okay? I may feel thoughts of love or loving thoughts for another person. What's most important is how I live that out. Feelings are almost neutral. It's how I act upon that, how I live that out. I understand love as, say, my world revolves around me most of the time. Okay? I don't think I'm all that different from most people. My world revolves right around these eyes where my mind is located. Okay? So it revolves around me. Love is being able to step out of that and allow the world to revolve around you. Love is the ability and the decision to step outside of my own ego boundaries for the sake of another person. Call it putting the other person first. That's love. And of course, in a loving a romantic relationship, we hope that the feelings are there too. But what's most important to me is that love is a decision. Because in a relationship, the feelings may not be there at certain times. What keeps you there in that relationship